Hello, welcome to Market Avenue. My name is Edward Nyako. One of the raft of measures announced by the Finance Minister, Mr. Kenofriata, yesterday about how to control expenditure and also bolster revenue is to look at the property rate area. And to some, the property rate area is like a gold mine that has not been exploited. I'm going to look at that with an economist, Habib Adam, who's done a lot of research in that area, and to find out more from him how that can help to rake in the needed revenue for this nation. But before we continue, we pick the business language for today, and then we'll go to the Ghana Stock Exchange to look at how the market ended at the close of session today. Hello, welcome back to Market Avenue. Today, the Black Stars are going to play this evening with the Nigerian counterpart, but it looks as if the euphoria in Kumasi is being seen here. Today, there wasn't much activity on the Accra Bulls. It's ended the session according to the composite index 0 point, and the financial index 2 same. So the year-to-date return is at negative 1.69% as against 1.01% in the financial stock index segment. Let's look at how the session ended today, and we'll look at the volume of shares that were traded: 449,794, which is one of the more or less the third highest for the week actually. And then it ended, it was valued at 475,722.14 pesos. The market cap is still at 64 billion Ghana cedis. So we go to the trading segment itself. There was no price change in terms of decrease or increase, and the company that experienced exchange shares on the market was Aloex 150, Bob 2,828, Cowbank did 134,672, and then Clydestone 98, CPC 450, EGL, that's Enterprise Ghana 1078, ETI Ecobank Transnational Incorporated 68,218, Gold did 159,000, which is the biggest on the market for today. As Standard Chartered Bank did 66,000, MTN also 12,841, and then Republic Bank 266, TBL did 78, Total 2, and then Talo 2. So that's how the market ended the trading session today. We're going straight to talk to Habib Adam to find out more how Ghana government can rake in or mobilize resources from the property rates arena. But we'll pick a break, we'll go for a break, and we'll come back, talk to Habib Adam. Hello, welcome back to Market Avenue. Habib Adam, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Great.
And good evening to your viewers and listeners.
Fantastic. Great to have you again in the studio.
It's a pleasure.
So, the property rate area, you spoke about this some time ago. We've done a lot of research about that. To some, it's like a gold mine that has not been exploited. Is that how you see this, this particular sector of the economy?
Absolutely, yes. I think that the property rate should have been one of our biggest contributor to the GDP. Unfortunately, we've not been, I really can't understand why. But what I suspect is that successive governments have always tried to say, okay, let's develop some complex systems before we can get these things to work. Because we have very poor addressing system, we can't locate houses and a lot of things. But for me, if we had even taken the commonest approach, so even counting fiscal, those that we could see, and started something, I'm sure we'll have built on it. But unfortunately, we will not be able to, we haven't been able to do that until recently. Now, you see that recently we have this metal plates embossed in our houses, which is now telling you your address and things like that. And I'm sure all of them are going to be digitized. And once that is done, we'll now have the entire database. And it will be much more easier for us to be able to tap in that. And I also think that we should have started something much earlier, you understand? But even though it's coming now, but it's never too late. We can still build on it because there's so much we can do about it. What I also found out during my research into that area was also that the law gives the mandate to the district assemblies to take the property rate, and so central government cannot take it from the top. And it is obvious that the MMDAs don't have the capacity to do that. You know? And because they don't have the capacity and the law mandates them to do that, it became a challenge. Now, secondly,
okay,
we also have to, the law also mandates that the property should be valued.
Okay.
You understand? Should be valued before you can be able to do that. But you also realize that, unfortunately, it's going to be a very huge
task.
a very huge task for us to be able to do that. Because per the last census results that we had, we're looking at about 8.4 million structures thereabout. So let's even assume that we have, let's even say even 5 million. 5 million. And if we were to take an average payment of even 100 cedis per year.
Before you go there, you talked about the digital address system, that is, or those embossment, the metal ones.
Yeah.
Now, in your view, have we been able to finish that process before we intend going out to mobilize resources from that area?
I don't think so. In fact, just this morning I was trying to do the scan with my QR code on the one on my wall, but I realized that it wasn't picking.
Okay.
So I'm sure they've just done the embossment. The digitization will follow later. But there are other places that I've seen that when you try to scan with the QR code, it will scan to give you the details of the address. So I'm sure we are getting there very soon. We're getting there very soon.
But the law,
the
finance minister says that we're going to make sure we mop up resources from that area. But the law, has it been changed or is still the same? If it's still the same, are we not going to enter into a terrain that is going to come with a lot of legal challenge?
Yeah, I'm not aware if the law has been amended or not. I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
But in one of the papers I did some time ago on that, what I recommended was to put in a provisional measures.
Okay.
Which is to announce to the country or to go to Parliament or find a way. I'm not a legal person, so I don't want to venture much into that. But what I can say is to find a way of having that transitional period where we can say that for now we are probably suspending the law. This is the new way that we are going to come in with a new legislation or a temporary measure to say that for now, because we don't have the MMDA don't have the capacity, central government is taking over. We probably can get a GRA or another body to be responsible for that. And because they are taking over, this is the temporary measure we are putting in place. we're going to demarcate all areas. I mean, various areas, East Legon, Cantonment, the low-income area, and then we're going to put an average amount, average rate per the area. So that when that is done, so we know that if I stay at East Legon, and I can say that the average rate for the East Legon maybe is 1,000 a year. Let's even say 500 a year. For if I live in Nima, we can say maybe 100 or even 50 a year. These are just temporary measures. And based on that, we can begin to collect something. And one of the things I also suggested was to also look at expanding the mandate of the rent control. You understand? And also trying to get various districts having offices at the various district area, or even if you are not even going to use constituency, you're going to use district, or you can we can define a certain area within which we can have an office. And that office with NAPCO, we could still have lots of graduates in the system that require, that need employment. We can recruit more and we'll send them to those offices. And they'll go around, we will develop maybe 1 square kilometer per team. Make sure that you are able to get all the houses numbered, and you can get pictures, whatever you can get. They get that, they come and put in the database within that locality. And then when that is done, based on that, what we can get from that is at the end of the year, is if you have a property, it is either for residential or commercial. So at the end of the year, if it is residential, if it is owner occupied, you probably have to go and pay your property rate. If it is for commercial or for commercial, where you can have rent for residential or for businesses, you need to go and also pay. You have rent income. You need to also go and pay that. So when we have all this in a database, at the end of the year, we will see the revenue that is coming from that. So any house, any number that is missing in terms of revenue, we'll write to them, demanding either the rent income, or that's rent tax, or the property rate, depending on what it is, you understand. So these were some of the things that I was suggesting that we could start. So that once we do that, first we'll get a lot of, we'll get our graduates to be occupied, to be doing something, and then we could also get a lot of revenue from that. And I always cite.
Now, can I find out from you?
Yeah.
What should be the mode in terms of payment? Should the graduates that are being deployed, in quotes, the NAPCO guys or national service guys that are being deployed, should they go out and collect the money, or what kind of system should we put in place, knowing the kind of leakages that we've been witnessing in our system?
In fact, the good thing is that we now have the Ghana what do they call it? Ghana.gov.
Oh, Ghana.gov, yes.
Ghana.gov, where all money that are supposed to go to government agencies can be paid directly into that.
Okay.
So the whole thing is to confirm. Even now with Momo and other, you can pay, and they still get to them. So that shouldn't be a problem. That shouldn't be a problem in terms of the payment mode.
All right. So you talk about we have about 8.4 million structures.
Yeah.
Now you mean these structures are it doesn't include containers, or it is just brick and mortar?
No, that's what I'm saying, that it includes all of that. That's what I'm saying. Even let's assume that the actual brick and mortar is 5 million. Okay. In the beginning, that's what I was saying.
Okay.
That if you have these 8.5 million, 8.4 million structures, assuming we have the brick and mortar being 5 million, and assuming you are going to leave average amount of 100 Ghana for the 5 million, that is so much money. That's so much money that will come to government, and that can do a lot of things for us.
And looking at the kind of system we have in place, and governments and dining revenue, how soon can this be done? Because we've heard this over and over and over. Almost like every budget, we hear this anytime government is deploying or really coming out with any policy to raise revenue. This is part of it, but we never been able to do that.
I'm aware that there was a team working on that at the Ministry of Finance. I'm not too sure how far they've gone, but once the minister has mentioned that, mentioned yesterday that they have a revised one that they're going to use. I'm sure that they probably have concluded on that, and that should be coming soon. Though I can't give the timeline because I'm not too sure. But once it came out in the minister's speech yesterday, we can be sure that it's very much ready to take off.
And do we need to do sensitization and education to let people know that, look, because somebody has stayed in the house for ages, he's never paid a dime or a peso. Now you are asking him to pay 100, we're talking for estimate sake, 100 Ghana cedis. That person might be like, hey, where are you coming from to demand this from me?
Absolutely. I mean, and for Ghanaians, not only Ghanaians, nobody likes to pay taxes. So sensitization is going to be very, very important. And I think that in the paper I did, my suggestion was that we should give it at least 6 months for sensitization, 6 months period, where we do the sensitization in the local languages, in various regions and other places, just to let people understand. Because you see, for some people, their only understanding of payment of tax means that if you are working for government, if government pays you, if he's doing his own business, he doesn't think that he should pay tax, because he doesn't think that everybody has to contribute for the road that leads to his house, for the electricity we are doing. We're having the street lights and so many things that we have, the water systems and all those. People don't understand that. A lot of people just think that payment of tax is only for government workers. And it is because of the way we have to structure our tax system, where those in the formal sector are always overburdened. And therefore, people always believe that it's only those in the government sector who are supposed to pay tax. So we need a lot of sensitization for the new revenue policies that we are bringing on board. And I'm sure that learning from the e-levy, and I'm sure the ministry or whichever agency is going to be responsible for that will take the sensitization very, very serious.
You said about 6 months will be needed for sensitization.
No, that was what I was
from where you are.
I mean,
but at this crucial moment that government is bleeding,
we really don't have the luxury of that time. That's what I'm saying, that we don't have the luxury of the time for now. And like I said earlier, once the minister mentioned that there's something that I'm sure that they have concluded on that, and the modalities, I'm sure within the coming days, they'll come out with all the details about how it's going to take off.
Elsewhere, where you've ever lived, how important is property rate in managing the boroughs or the councils or communities?
You know, if you live in London and other places, when you finish your school, you know what, that's to pay council tax. Exactly. So, but I wouldn't use that. I'd rather use Morocco, because I like to use Morocco because our office is implementing the public sector reform strategy, and one of the countries that we visited was Morocco. And of all the things that we learned from there, one of the things that impressed me most was their property rates, the way they manage their land system and property rate. And what I learned from them was that, I mean, we had a direct interaction with all of them, and I've always said it, their equivalent of our land commission here is the biggest contributor to the economy.
Wow.
Yes. And what they simply did was that they ensured that they registered all their land. They invested a lot of money into digitizing their land, you understand, and ensuring that it is not possible for anybody's land to sway into another person. And your property, like they have multiple say, it is not possible for somebody to sell your property.
It's not because perhaps maybe their land is owned by government, or they still is owned by clans or individuals.
Yes, individuals. Yes. Initially, I thought it was, they said no. So what they did was that you still keep your distance, but they invested that money. They started with the urban area. They invested that money to do all of that, digitize. So what now happens is that now if you want to go and sell your land or your property, then there are charges that will pay for what they did.
Oh, okay.
You understand? So it is there, all right, free. It is free, all right. But any transaction on it, the government will have a percentage because they did it for you free. And now, instead of people going to have a problem after buying and paying, going to check at the land commission, they come with multiple results, and you are not going to find that. You understand? So that inconvenience, we are paying for that inconvenience. And because of that, they really don't have problem with their land issue, and it's also raking a lot of money. Their finance minister, the rep from the finance minister told us that the finance minister doesn't joke with the head of that unit.
Okay.
Because it is his
cash cow.
Cash cow. And so we could equally do that. And in Ghana, and I'm sure even when we get the private sector will be ready to finance that. And then they operate it for a certain number of years before it reverts back to government. We can always do that because they said we can get a lot of money there. If government doesn't have the cash to do that now, I think we can invite the private sector. And I've seen in the past, some people came around, some from South Africa, other places, who really wanted to do that. But you know, sometimes in Ghana it's difficult. People come in with their proposals, and then along the line they just get tired and then they leave. I'm sure we can do that.
The issue, the collection, you were talking about private sector, and I was thinking that if the MMDAs, if the laws have not been amended, is it possible they can engage perhaps the private sector to come on board to help in the collection of this revenue, and perhaps give them a commission so that we fast track it because of bureaucracy in the system?
No, I think some of them have. Some of them have.
Okay.
They have done that. You know, some of them they have contracted some private sector people to help with their revenue collection. But the issue is always what is collected, whether it's enough. You understand? The problem is with the declaration. How much is collected, how much is declared, and all that. There's no control. There's no transparency, and therefore it becomes a problem. But when we have a central body with certain prosecutorial powers that can monitor and ensure that the right things are done, I'm sure we wouldn't have a problem with that. Yeah.
Yes, one major issue that came up during the discussion, apart from the property rate, was the issue of the IPPs, where the minister talked about 1.5 billion Ghana cedis is likely to be saved after negotiations with the independent power producers.
Yes, the energy sector is one of our difficult areas, and I serve in one of the committees, and I can tell you it is not easy for the Minister of Finance because of what we've done to ourselves in terms of the contracts that we've entered into. And so it's always difficult for them. The Minister of Finance always keep paying money at all the time. In fact, the last 3 years, they've paid an average of almost $6 billion. That's $1 billion in terms of just pay, and that is not even meeting up with the accruing debt because of the contracts that we entered into. Because what is happening is that a lot of them go into the capacity. We needed an amount of about 2,500 megawatt of power, but we ended up contracting people to come and put up plants in excess of 5,000. So that means, and unfortunately, majority of them, almost about 70% of them, were take or pay. So whether we take or we don't take, we are paying for it. And so every year, the ministry have to come out with that. And I'll just give you one example. In the last report, in fact, general report on the energy sector, in terms of ECG collection, we have what we call the cash water fall mechanism, where we've tried to make sure that the ECG collections, because what's happening in the sector is that those who provide the fuel for the plants, for the power plants to generate, those who provide the fuel cannot get paid until ECG get their collection. Those IPP cannot get paid. Everything will have to be paid from ECG collections. And if you look at the ECG collections, it's very, very low. So because of that, it's creating a lot of revenue gaps in the system. And the Ministry of Finance always have to come in to save the situation because they are contractual agreement, which is take or pay. So, and the government guarantee those agreements. So that's what now there's a committee that is negotiating that. Some of them have completed, others are still in the pipeline, and we are hoping that very soon like the minister indicated, we'll have the final negotiation to see how much we can save in the sector. The sector is really bleeding, and the ministry is actually pumping a lot of money into the sector.
Thank you very much, Habib, for your time in the studio. This is how we wrap up today on Market Avenue. I believe most of you are waiting to watch the Black Stars in Nigeria match anxiously. So we wrap up today, and God will come your way again next week. Shalom.